there cannot be one way to do things. And if we get hooked on this idea that there's one way to do things, what can often happen is we end up creating businesses that don't feel good to us. We create results, but they don't necessarily feel good. Hello, welcome back to the Soulful CEO Path, the podcast for purpose-driven entrepreneurs who are building wildly abundant and aligned businesses that create ripple effects of positivity in the world. And my name is Kristin Constable, your host, and I'm so excited to dive into today's solo cast episode with you because it is a conversation that I have been mulling around in my head for as long as I can remember, but I have been working on something behind the scenes that has to do with this since the beginning of the year. And, one of the things that I am known for in my work is bringing together the worlds of soul and strategy. So if you're not familiar with my work, I want to share a little bit about what that's all about. And then I want to give you something that I think is going to be really valuable for you as you start to think about how to create this ownable and signature body of work that is an expression of your soul essence and that meets a highly valuable need in the market. The intersection of soul and strategy is really important. I want to share a little bit about my own personal journey here to help you see how I've kind of come to this place myself of understanding the importance of both. When I first started my business, I came from the corporate world. I was doing corporate leadership development. I, was working with corporate companies when I started my first business, doing leadership development for them. And one of the things that I was always really lucky with my corporate experience was that the organizations that I worked for saw that the first business I worked for, it was a restaurant group. And the founder had this really beautiful vision for his business. And he's like, we're not really a restaurant company. We are a people development organization disguised as a restaurant company. And I thought that was so cool. And later on, I went on to work with the Lululemon startup called Kit and Ace. And we all know, well, maybe you don't know, but that organization, Chip Wilson, big proponent of personal development. I was really lucky in terms of my early years, not just getting the corporate, don't bring your whole self to work, don't bring your personality to work. I worked for these companies that really understood the value of developing the whole human and looking at what's most important to you, who are you, really doing this deeper inner work. And so I had that kind of lens already coming into the work that I did. And then I started to go down my own spiritual path. I was kind of at this time, I was doing corporate leadership development. I was bringing in a little bit of the personal development side of things into that work, really working with people to understand their purpose and their values and things like that. But it wasn't quite, on the fully, I would say, spiritual end of things. It was I don't want to call it surface level because those things purpose and values aren't anything but surface level, but they were just framed differently than say, as I started to go down my spiritual path, the work there, let's just call it what it is, more woo, right? We just went more woo. And I started to really work with plant medicine. I started to do some shamanic practices. I really got into somatics and energetics and breath work and yoga and this whole world that just opened up for me. And it was such a beautiful journey. And I always say, I share this story often, mostly with closer friends and family. This is the first time I've actually shared this publicly, but my past relationship that I was in, my past marriage, I think about it as this really beautiful experience for me because my partner really introduced me to a lot of this work. And for the 7 years that we were together, we really explored our own spirituality, consciousness, this whole world. And so I'm super grateful for that experience because of that. And I'm sharing that with you because as I was doing all of that work myself, my business started to become this vehicle that I could share that part of me with. There was a period in time when I started to shift away from the corporate leadership development work under my first business, which was called the Winning Academy, into my personal brand business, which was just under my name, that I was trying to find this place, this balance between the strategy, the groundedness, what I knew was important from a very 3D experience, and then this other world awareness and experience that I was exposed to personally, and trying to bring these worlds together. And I have to say, at the beginning, I didn't do that great of a job around it because, in all honesty, when I look back on it, I was making it too much about me. And I was bringing too much about, what I think was important for people and, what worked for me in the whole process. And I wasn't thinking about how my soul essence, my gifts, my energetics was I could position those in a way that was solving a high value problem for my ideal client. It actually took me a couple years, I would say, to find the sweet spot between the soul and the strategy. And I can say confidently now that my work is this really nice balance of these two pieces. Using business and the way that I teach and the way that I support clients is using business as a vehicle to express our soul essence in the world, but also making sure that we center and angle our ideal client first and think about, what do they actually need help with? What's a high value problem I can help them solve? And then match our unique gifts and gifting on top of that. The reason I'm bringing all of this up and want to share this with you in this podcast episode is I've been working on something behind the scenes. And after coaching hundreds of entrepreneurs and leaders, I have started to recognize some real apparent patterns. And one of the things that really irks me in the coaching space is when I see people making claims that there's one right way to do things. Now, I don't know about you, but my red flags go up so quickly when I see someone saying this is the way, this is the only way, because I know that we as people are way too diverse and way too nuanced to be able to have there be one cookie cutter way of doing things. Now, I will have a caveat to this. When we're learning how to do something for the first time, having this paint by numbers approach, this really cookie cutter approach to things, can actually be helpful. So if you're just looking to create foundational knowledge, maybe you're just getting into creating an online coaching business, or you're just starting a consultancy, if you're in your early stages, sometimes having these paint by numbers, just do this, 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 and this, can be really helpful because the foundations are somewhat, the same. But once you graduate from the paint by numbers, it's there's so many different ways to create your masterpiece. So there cannot be one way to do things. And if we get hooked on this idea that there's one way to do things, what can often happen is we end up creating businesses that don't feel good to us. We create results, but they don't necessarily feel good. And I know I have gone for this and fallen into this trap before, where I have worked with coaches who have a certain way of doing things. And because I am a hard worker, I'm a good student, I'm hey, I'm going to try this on. I'm going to do it their way. I'm going to see how this works. And the truth is that in my experience, it has worked. If I do the work, if I put in the effort, if I do it the way that they say, it will work, but the results don't feel good. And that's the missing piece here. And this is where the soul and strategy intersect. We can have both. We can have both, where we can create the big results we want in our business. We can create businesses that position us as industry leaders. We can be known, be the go-to person, be known for something in a way that feels aligned and good for us. So that's where the work that I've been doing is going to come in. So as I said, I've been looking at these patterns after coaching hundreds of people. And what I've identified is there's kind of 6 primary archetypes for how entrepreneurs, I call it soulful CEOs, operate in their businesses. And the Challenges is if you are a certain archetype and you build a business that is not aligned with your archetype, it's going to feel hard. You might get the results, but it's not going to feel good. You're not going to have results that feel expansive, that it feels like you're in flow, that you're building a business that you love and you don't need a vacation from. So the key here is to identify what your soulful CEO archetype is, and then ensure that you're building a business and a business model around that. So to support you in doing that, I've created a quiz. And this quiz is going to help you identify your soulful CEO archetype and then give you some next steps around what kind of business model, how you can package your unique and ownable body of work so that it is in alignment with your soulful CEO archetype. So, to give you a little bit of insight into the different types of archetypes that there are, so you can hear which one might be you, I'm going to share them here. And then I'm going to share with you the link to go take the quiz. And I invite you to go take this 5-minute quiz, find out your soulful CEO archetype, and then start to look at your current offer suite to ensure that it's in alignment with your soulful CEO archetype. When you create a business model and offers that are in alignment with your archetype, not only does it feel better because you have offers that actually match your energetics and can be really good vehicles for you to share your gifts and your gifting and your skills, but you also set yourself up to have this like scalable and ownable body of work where you can focus on a few things rather than getting in the trap of like, I need to do it all. I need to have the membership. I need to create a signature method that I can do talks around. I need to like, you probably know if you're like me, it's like you got all the things because at some point in time, someone told you that that was the way. And this is about simplifying your business, your offers, and how you move through the world. So let me share with you the 6 soulful CEO archetypes. And as I share these, I want you to feel into which ones have resonance for you. And the reality is we all have a little bit of most of these archetypes likely. So it's not that it will be like only one. It might be, but you might also hear yourself in a few of the archetypes. So just allow yourself to sink in, feel in, maybe close your eyes. And I'm going to get into sharing these with you. Okay, so the first archetype is the solution architect. So the solution architect is someone who brings order to the chaos. So this is someone who can look at things and turn like messy ideas into structured, repeatable systems. Your clients might rely on you for clarity and structure and frameworks that deliver them results. And if you're this type of archetype, a really great way to scale is by creating signature processes like signature methods that turn your expertise into highly valued and structured systems that then you can sell and scale because they help people simplify and create order out of the chaos. So that's archetype number 1. Archetype number 2 is the visionary creator. So this is someone who is that big picture thinker and who likes to shake things up. So you might be this person, or you might know someone like this who thrives on newness, on innovation, on big, bold ideas. They're here to challenge the conventional thinking and introduce new ways or better ways of doing things. If you fall into this particular archetype, a really great way to be able to share your offers is through high-level consulting or coaching experiences that really position you as that thought after industry leader. So in this case, it's not so much about volume, but more about these high touch, high price point offers that really position you as that thought leader in your space. Then we've got the transformational guide. So the transformational guide is really fun. And this is one that I often see come up with my clients is they're the impactful coach who's committed to really creating transformation and changing people's lives. So with their clients, if this is you, you often hear that you create really powerful breakthroughs. You help clients really shift their perspective. You build these really deep and trusting, lasting relationships with those that you serve. And here, if this is your natural style, this is your soul essence, having premium coaching or mentorship programs, whether it be one-on-one or in group, is going to be the packaging for you that's going to feel best. If you're a transformational guide and you go and you create a model where, say, you have like a passive income course, you're not going to love it. And it's because you're not going to have first like row seats to people's transformation. You're going to be disconnected to the results that they're creating. And although you might be creating the revenue, you actually might not feel as fulfilled. So this is where you can see it's really important to match up your Soulful CEO archetype with the types of offers and how you're building your business. Then we've got the life designer. So I think of this one as the muse. So this is the architect of freedom and flow, meaning that if you're the life designer, you are this like vision, you are this example of building a life and a lifestyle that is aspirational. So you're really a pro at just like living your life, showing people what's possible, and then inspiring them to do the same. So in this case, a great business model for someone who really is this muse archetype who, attracts people into their world is actually having a business model that's a little bit more hands off. People in this space is actually creating more of that passive income model. So having a course, putting, less time where you're actually working with people so that what you're selling is actually the lifestyle. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like people create great business models and have a lot of impact that way. And then we have our magnetic connectors. This is the networker, the person who creates opportunities for everyone. I love these people. They are the ones who are like always hooking up relationships, saying you should meet so-and-so or sending people referrals. They're just natural connectors. And they really thrive in relationships and community building and collaboration. And they naturally just attract the right people to create opportunities. So for this archetype, creating these community kind of containers, events, masterminds, things like that can be really powerful because it allows them to leverage their natural skill of connecting and using these group-like experiences to bring people together. I was just actually looking at right now, I'm in search for a new mentor and coach myself. And to be honest, I'm having a bit of a hard time finding somebody that I'm like, yes, that is an absolute hell yes for me. I was just looking at someone today because I have an acquaintance of mine is at their mastermind. And I was just looking at what the real value proposition around their work is. And a big value proposition around their work is not that you're going to get one-on-one time with this person, but the fact that they pull together and curate this amazing community that is inspiring, that you're going to be around high level people. You're going to get to mastermind with people who are up to big things. And so this is an example of that magnetic connector. They bring great people together, and the value of their work is actually about the community they curate versus the one-on-one time that you get with them. That would be the transformational guide as an example. So the difference there. And then we've got our last one, the impact strategist. So this is the legacy builder. This is someone who is really focused on not the quick win, not the $97 course, but creating this big picture, big vision legacy, something that, they're no longer doing the work. It will live on beyond them. And they might help their clients do the same thing to align with this bigger vision, this big impact vision. And in terms of like how you might help people, if you're this impact strategist, is there's many different ways you can support people in doing this work. It might be through strategic planning sessions if you're more on the consultant side of things. If you're more on the coach side of things, it might be through high level coaching containers. It might be through supporting people and actually building out their legacy program, like a year-long certification program or something like that. So as I shared those 6 archetypes with you, which one is feeling like it resonates most strongly? And as I said, there might be a few different ones. And if you're not sure, or even if you are sure and you just want to test it, go check out the quiz. I'm going to link it below and find out what your Soulful CEO archetype is like. And when you take the quiz, you're going to get a workbook that you can work through. And this workbook will help you see what your next steps are so that you can start to focus and prioritize how to create an ownable and unique body of work that allows you to use it as a vehicle to express your soul, but also is very strategic in the sense that it is set up to really create impact and center your ideal client. So you're actually solving a problem, a high value problem for your ideal client. And it's not just this like soul-led hobby. You need the intersection of both soul and strategy. And this tool is my gift to you to help you find that sweet spot. I hope you love it. If you love this episode, make sure that you comment, send me a message on Instagram at Kristin Constable. Let me know what your Soulful CEO archetype is, and I hope to see you in the next episode.